those upstairs. So these townhomes will add to that.
And are we recording yet? I see we are now. All right, we're going to call to order the November 14th, 2017 Planning Commission meeting. We have roll call.
Chair Simpson.
Here.
Vice Chair Flores.
Here.
Commissioner Rupp.
Here.
Commissioner Reddick.
Here.
And Commissioners Matzinger and Kai are absent.
Thank you. We have on the consent agenda the November 14th Planning Commission meetings. Is there a motion? Vice Chair Flores. The November 14th, 2017 Planning Commission meetings minutes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the meeting minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And so moved. Council liaison announcements. Councilor Garland.
Thank you. I hope I won't steal too many of Erica's thunder here, but November 30th, this Thursday, is the Smockville Brewhouse Grand opening. 4 p.m. across the street, so I hope everybody can make that. This weekend, of course, is the holiday parade and the tree lighting, December 2nd, which is Saturday. The parade starts at 4 p.m. I understand the tree lighting is around 5-ish or so. Going to be a lot of big floats and fun things in the parade. I'd really recommend, if you haven't been to this event, the tree lighting, it is everything that makes Sherwood great is all in this tree lighting. It's a fantastic event. The singing, the Christmas carols, the Santa, hot chocolate, everything. It's fantastic. So I hope you can make it to that.
Hot dogs.
Yeah.
Hot dogs.
Hot dogs. I always forget to mention hot dogs, and everyone says, mention hot dogs. So, hot dogs. Just from City Council news, yesterday was the deadline for people to apply to be appointed to the interim openings, 2 spots we have for City Council, and we received 4 applications. So the City Council will be setting up interviews for those and working as swiftly as possible to get those 2 folks appointed to City Council. And again, to recap, those folks will serve until the March 2018 election results certified, so probably through April. So that's all I have.
All right. Before we move on to staff announcements, I wanted to mention to anybody here tonight, if you wish to testify, there are blue testimony cards in the back, and either under community comments or the new business agenda items, if you could fill out the blue cards and turn them into one of the staff members, that will help us facilitate the meetings tonight. Thank you. Staff announcements.
I have three announcements this evening. The first is, as city staff, we have sent out a request for proposals for the community comp plan visioning process. This RFP is slated to end around the 1st of January, and then we go ahead and select a consultant to help us. And then the next step is the Community Advisory Committee committee. And Chair Simpson and Councilor Garland and I met this evening. We received about 20 applications for folks in the community to sit on this Community Advisory Committee for the comp plan update. And we've been working on the selection process, and hopefully we'll have that completed by next week. We also have Planning Commission interviews set for next Monday, and then from there they will go to City Council for appointments.
That's it?
That's it.
All right. That was easy. Whipping right through this. Already on to agenda item 5, community comments. Community comments are limited to those items that are not already on the schedule for this evening. Do we have anybody wishing to address the commission? All right. Then we will continue into old business. All right. So we are not reopening the public hearing. We are just moving into deliberation. So as I turn to my trustee legal advice, do I need to reread the public hearing script for the legislative if we're under? Okay, they gave it to me. I was just prepared in case. So all we're going to do is do deliberations. So I'll take any additional staff report for before deliberation. Is there anything that we need to know?
So in your staff packet, there is a supplemental staff report, and I'll just go over a few items in the staff report.
Thank you.
At the last meeting on November 14th, planning staff, we had recommended a new condition of approval. And that was condition of approval number 2 in that staff report. And that was due to, we had worked with our local agencies, Washington County and ODOT, and just solidified the language in that condition to make it a little bit more clear as to what we were adopting, which was the TPR analysis. And during that same night, the Sherwood School District, the applicant came back with proposed language to the condition number 1. So city staff had looked at that language from the last meeting, and in the supplemental staff report, we have developed kind of a balance between what they had proposed and what staff would like to see. The second item is we have some topographical errors in the staff report that we just made note of. On page 5, there was a blank for a number to be put in, and that number was 16. On page 124, the second to the last sentence should be read as designed. And then in the list of exhibits contained in the staff report, the final date of the TPR read 1/1/2017 when it should have read 11/1/2017. So we just wanted to make sure that all of those are fixed and corrected. At the last meeting, Planning Commission, Chair Simpson, you had requested that the commission receive Metro's hearings officers, the final report. And we did send that out, and we added that to the exhibit list as part of the staff report. And then we also went ahead and revised a finding that dealt with goal 1. And we revised that finding down below. And if you would like me to read it out loud, I certainly can, but okay. But based on all of those changes, our recommendation remains unchanged.
Thank you. And there are, on the copies that we received, 2 typos on the information that you provided to us. And I'm just going to go by our packet, page 18. It's in condition 2. It says the agreements shall clearly outline the and.
Oh.
So if we could delete and. And then it's a typographical correction to the typographical correction. Number 3, the date should have tread instead of red. There's an extra T in there. Yeah, I got those 2 for me because it was only 3 pages I had to read on top of the 75 from Metro. So, all right, thank you very much. So we are at deliberation prior to a vote. So we can take a motion. We can ask staff any questions that you might have between now and the last meeting. I'm just looking down to see if any commissioners have any questions for the discussion. I thought Matt was going to be here, and I was going to thank him for getting us an extra 75 pages to read, because I asked for it, and I wanted it, and I wanted to say that it really helped me when reading the background research and the due diligence that the school district had to put together to meet the Metro guidelines. It helped me understand the district's decision for the process and how we ended up with that piece of property at this time. And that background information, and from my perspective, everybody that's on the school district side of it has probably been living and breathing every piece of data for the last 2 or 3 years. So someone who hasn't, and my perspective was coming from the Sherwood West side of it, where I had a picture that was coming from this way, trying to get into your perspective, that Metro decision and all the information that he brought forth and all the decision making, that really helped me understand where our vacancies of parcels don't exist. And, he outlined a lot of pieces of information that helped me feel like a decision on this makes a lot of sense when you were looking at it in one perspective, when you didn't have the whole picture. And so, not that I didn't have the whole picture, but it just the in-depth. That Metro guy really had a lot of information to say, and he dug deep, and so it was really helpful. Anyway, so it's just the question before us tonight is whether or not we can recommend approval to the City Council to amend our comprehensive plan in text. So I would ask if there is a motion. And I'm sure there's language someplace to do that. Okay.
All right, so I recommend approval to the City Council with conditions and findings in the staff report as presented. So I was reading the wrong line. I move the Sherwood Planning Commission forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for PA 17-02 new Sherwood High School text amendment based on the applicant's testimony, public testimony received, and the analysis, findings, and conditions in the staff report.
I'd second that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we forward a recommendation of approval on PA 1702. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passed. Thank you very much. All right. We are moving on to old bit. I guess I would like to thank I know we're going to see you guys like at least 3, 4, 5 more times because this is a public process and the public will get to be engaged several more times between now and then. But thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for allowing us to continue. And if we read 75 pages and saw how much work you've put into it already, and that information was invaluable in helping us make a good recommendation. So thank you for doing that tonight. Thank you. So, all right, on to new business. We have a public hearing, which I know I do get to read something for that. Okay, the public hearing on LA 17-04 Bowman House 4 is called to order. The public hearing this evening will be conducted as follows. Staff will present the staff report, questions if any by the hearing body for staff. We will then hold a public hearing for testimony and time will be limited as follows. Applicant 30 minutes, persons in favor of the application 4 minutes, persons opposed to the application 4 minutes. There will be rebuttal from the applicant, which is the remainder of their 30 minutes. We will then close the public hearing and no other comments will be heard from the public or the applicants. We'll have final comments by staff, questions of staff, if any, by the commission, and then discussion by the commission. A decision may be made by the Planning Commission at the close of the hearing, or the matter may be continued to a time and date certain. If the matter is continued to a date certain, this will be the only notice of that date you receive. If you wish to speak, please fill out one of the blue testimony forms and submit it to the Planning Commission's secretary. The chair will recognize people who wish to speak, and any questions should be addressed through the chair. When you come forward, please state your name and address for the record. In reaching a decision on the application, the Commission must consider whether the application meets the relevant approval criteria in the city's land use regulation. These criteria are identified in the staff report. There are 2 copies of the staff report available in the room this evening. The testimony and evidence must address these criteria or any other criteria you believe to apply to the decision. Please note, failure to raise an issue with enough detail to enable the Commission, the applicant, and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issues precludes an appeal to the City Council or Land Use Board of Appeals on that issue. Also, failure by the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues regarding proposed conditions of approval, again with enough detail to allow the Commission to respond to the issue, precludes an action for damages in circuit court. That's mine? Oh, thank you. Oh. At this time, I would like members of the commission to disclose any ex parte contact, bias, or conflicts of interest. Please indicate the nature and extent of the ex parte contact, bias, or conflict of interest, and indicate whether you intend to participate in or abstain from the hearing. Oh, man. Okay. Does any member of the audience wish to challenge any member of the Planning Commission to participate this evening? Good. Planning staff will now present.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Joy Chang, Associate Planner for the city's Planning Department. Before you tonight is Bowman House number 4, which is a landmark alteration 17-01 in an Old Town overlay review. This site is located between Southwest 1st and Southwest Oregon Street, with frontages on Southwest 1st and Southwest Ash Street. Property is currently vacant with the exception of accessory structures, the sheds, currently being constructed by students from the Sherwood School District. The site is zoned medium-density residential with an Old Town overlay. The current Sherwood Zoning Community Development Code approval criteria consist of the residential use district, Old Town overlay district, and applicable landmark alteration, more specifically just procedural requirements. Medium density residential low allows where the applicant is proposing a single family home, and that is allowed within the zone. The standards within the medium density residential low are lot area has to be 5,000 square feet, lot width of the property line be 25, lot width building line 50 feet, setbacks requirements, front yard 14, face of garage 20, side yard 5 feet, rear yard 20, corner lot, which this is the street side setback is 15. The applicant proposes to meet all these setback requirements. All the setbacks will be reviewed during the plot plan review process with the building permit. So the Old Town Overlay Community Design has 2 sections, Old Cannery area and the Smockville Design area. This site is within the Smockville Design area, and that's why it's in front of you today. The Smockville residential design standards are listed on this slide, and all of these standards, with the exception of number 8, which consists of additions, which this proposal isn't an addition, are applicable and have been met. So one of the key things was volume and mass. You're seeing the front elevation and the rear elevation of the proposed building. This building includes architectural features that will be placed vertically on the structure to address the vertical character from the front. The front elevation shows stone material, a porch, and steep roof pitches. The building's features complement the home to the east. There are a few intersecting roof lines with architectural interest in projections. Additionally, a pillar on the porch adds to the verticality of the The proposed home has one intersecting volume connected by one porch that is offset in the rear. It also has one intersecting volume above the office and front porch area. The height of the home is 29 feet and 8 inches, meaning the 40-foot overall height standard requirement. There are no flat roofs visible from the street, which is one of the requirements. And then as far as openings, the doors, as proposed, the front door is metal with glazing on the top half. A glass panel is also proposed adjacent to the door. These 2 features provide compliance with the approval criteria. And the rear door will be clear sliding glass doors, which again provides compliance with the criteria. This slide represents both the right and the left side elevation. I'm just going to highlight some of the trim and architectural detailing because a lot of these details are in the staff report, so I just want to let you know. The trim and architectural detailing, the proposed identifies 4 architectural features on the building, including a 5/4 corner boards, barge boards with 5/4 shape, mold trim, decorative foundation treatments, and shingle decorative gable ends. All of these details add interest to the dwelling and satisfies the requirement. And again, the windows themselves, related to the openings, meet the width and height ratio of 1.5 to 2, with exception of the 3 windows on the second floor of the bathroom. As shown on the right side elevation, these 3 windows can't meet the height ratio of 1.5 to 2 due to the low plate height of the floor. So all windows are single hung and casement. The Old Town Overlay Community Design has general design standards as noted in the staff report. One of that is applicable to this proposal is color. The color of all exterior materials shall be earth tone. A color palette shall be submitted and reviewed as part of the land use application and approved by the hearing authority. The applicant proposed materials comprise of off-white, brick red, and harvest yellow tones that are earth tone as depicted in this slide. Required public notices were completed, and as of the start of this meeting, no public comments were received. Staff recommends approval of this single-family residence within the Old Town Overlay with conditions as identified in the staff report. And that concludes my staff report and can answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you very much. Do any commissioners have any questions before we call the applicant up? All right, I have no blue cards, so I do not know who the applicant is. All right, excellent. Come on up, and if you just, the green light's already on, so you're good to go. If you just state your name and address for the record, that would be great.
My name is John Dickover, and my address is 16541 Southwest Daylily Street here in Sherwood.
Thank you. And do you have any other additional information to provide other than what the staff has presented already?
No, your staff is wonderful and have done an excellent job.
All right, and are you in agreement with the conditions as presented by the staff? All right. Does anybody have any questions of the applicant? Do you have any questions of us? It is.
No, I just appreciate the being able to work with the city. You guys have been wonderful. So
yeah, we have a really great staff, and your application is, you know, it fits in perfectly with what's going right next door. Probably planned it that way, didn't you? All right. I guess we'll wait for any other people that want to testify, so you might have an opportunity to rebut any.
thank you.
Thank you. Don't have any other additional cards for proponents or opponents, so.
Actually, I did have a question for the city.
Okay, so it's for the city.
City staff. So driving by the site, obviously you live in Sherwood. I was curious about the slide that showed kind of a layout of the home with because I remember the prior Bowman house when we reviewed that, but the one that showed the driveway. So there's a condition to have a shared driveway with a neighboring lot. So like, we're not going to have that open spot there. It's going to be all concrete, I assume. It's going to be. Is it the approach that's shared or because the driveway is constructed, seems to go to the property line right now on the joiner.
Sorry, go ahead.
Anyway, the idea was that we needed to compress the amount of approach onto the collector status and keep it away from the intersection since they're so close. So we moved it as far away and basically centered it around the property line. So they'll be coming in and splitting as they come in, split out to go to each side.
Okay. Well, I noticed there's a utility locate and there's 2 storm laterals shown, and they both look like they're going on the subject's property, which kind of alludes that maybe the neighbor's storm laterals on this site. So I don't know.
There are, what they did is they went in and they brought in 2 lines from the street, 2 sanitary lines side by side and 2 storm lines side by side. So they'll both have individual storm laterals. We do not allow shared lateral connections within the city. That makes it a public line.
Yeah. Well, isn't the sanitaries coming off the back?
The sanitary is coming off the back, yes.
Anyway, I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know where the property line is out there, but the concrete for the existing home seems to be up against that property line, and the storm locate, which isn't super accurate, but it's an idea, seems to be on this site. So I guess before they pour another driveway and abut them, it might be good to
Probably need to accurately locate the property line relative to make sure that they're not crossing
Yeah.
an adjacent property line. So we'll confirm that when we get going. I'll make a note of that, let my inspector know, and we'll look at it.
Okay.
That makes sense, because, yeah, it does look like,
Well,
like there's a space between the two, but there's really not going to be space between the driveways.
No.
There's no, it'll be poured concrete all the way over.
Just be a shared strip of concrete.
All right.
And there are 2 power meters. They seem to be on this side, I guess, at that rate.
I don't know about the power meters. That's the private side of stuff, so.
Well, they're set in the lot pretty good, but anyway, I normally wouldn't have looked at that. I just noticed they had recent locates, and anyway, something to keep an eye on, I guess. I don't know if that means an easement for the other, I guess, before it gets covered up, or.
There is a public utility easement across the front of the lot, and they can go through that. It shouldn't prevent them, the public utility or private utilities, from, running it across somebody else's lot to take access to it. That's what it's there for.
Okay. I didn't know there was a public utility easement in the front.
Generally, the city requires a PUE in front of all lots, except within Old Town where you have 0 lot line, where it's impossible, so.
Okay, I'm good.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I've not received any blue cards of anybody wanting to testify in favor of this application. Would anybody like to testify opposed to this application? It seems silly to call for rebuttal of nothing then. So if the applicant doesn't want any further testimony, we will close the public hearing. We will have final comments by staff if there's any further information. And the public utility easement will resolve any things from the locate, right? All right. That's a very short hearing, so if we are ready for a question, I am certainly ready for a question. All right. Then we'll call for a motion.
I approve. I move the Sherwood Planning Commission approve the application for LA 17-01 Bowman House 4 based on the applicant testimony, public testimony received, and the analysis, findings, and conditions in the staff report.
A second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we approve LA 17-01. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved. Thank you very much for your time this evening. All right, and
Commissioner Simpson, can we take a brief recess?
as I had seen many scurrying around while we were having our last two hearings. We will have at least a 5-minute recess. Thank you. call the meeting back to order. Sorry. Threw me a little curveball this evening. When we get ready to open our public hearing, one of our commissioners will be recusing himself, which will mean we will not have a quorum. We had a quorum on the October 28th hearing date, but now we don't. So I'm going to have to ask the applicant to come to the table so we can get on record their wishes of tolling the 120 days or having a special meeting.
So we would be happy to continue the meeting to a date and time certain. I think the next scheduled Planning Commission meeting would be December 12th.
And before you go too far, for the record, your name and address.
Sorry, yes. Joey Shear with AKS Engineering. I'm a planner consultant for the applicant. 12965 Southwest Herman Road, Suite 100, Tualatin, Oregon 97062.
All right, thank you. Sorry, this is all me ad-libbing as a volunteer on the Planning Commission, so have some.
That's fine. So yeah, we're happy to do that, and we understand that moving the hearing back a month, we're getting close to that 120 day. Our client isn't here this evening, but I don't imagine that that's going to be a problem to extend that time, just to make sure that we have ample opportunity to have the application heard.
So my limited volunteer experience is that we need, as the applicant's representative, an official tolling of the 120 days so that we maintain our deadlines correctly. I don't know if we think it'll be okay is adequate. Now I turn to the legal advice, just because of the deadline, we have to have our decision done by the 2nd of December for the 14-day appeal deadline, which would mean that we would probably schedule a special hearing on Thursday night or some other date within the next couple of days so that we can meet our obligations, since we didn't officially ask for the tolling when the original hearing was rescheduled. So that's when I'm trying to figure out what the right way to do this is technically on the record.
That's right, you covered it. The issue is what date are we going to continue the hearing to? Because if we continue it to the 12th of December and then we don't get a tolling of the 120 days, we're not going to meet that 120 days. So it's a question of whether we get the tolling of the 120 days tonight and we can continue to the 12th, or whether we're going to continue to maybe Thursday night.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. If you're, all you need from me is to say that we'll extend the 120-day period an additional 30 days, I think we're happy to do so.
That is on the record, and you now see smiling faces both from me, because that's, you know, my limited experience. That's all I know is on the record. If we have the 120 days told, then we as a commission can reschedule this hearing for a date certain of December 12th, and anybody wishing to testify would have that same opportunity on December 12th. And if they want to provide any written comments between now and then, they could submit them through the regular staff channels, correct? Now, do I need a motion to do that continuance? It seems likely, and it sees really official. So I now turn to the illustrious vice chair to formally add. There we go. December 12th.
I move the Sherwood Planning Commission continue the public hearing on the application for SP 17-01 / SUB 17-03 for Parkway Village South until December 12th, 2017.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we continue SP 1701 and SUB 1703 to December 12th with the tolling of the 120 days being extended 30 days to January 15th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, and I said aye, yes, so.
And if I can just, sorry.
And thank you,
interject.
applicant, for
Yeah.
understanding and working through it. It's,
And I just want to say for the applicant, as well as anybody in the audience and anybody at home in the audience, that this is not normal that we don't have a quorum. We have a 7-person planning commission, and we have 1 vacancy. One person is out of town, and 1 person was ill unexpectedly. So it is very abnormal for us to not have a quorum. It's certainly, and then actually a commissioner that had to recuse himself. So it's not normal. Usually we have plenty of commissioners to hear things. It was just a very unfortunate evening.
a perfect storm.
So I just wanted to, for the public and the record, to let that be known.
All right. Well, that was more excitement than I had anticipated for this evening. Let me flip to page 2 of my agenda, see if we can. Planning Commissioner announcements. Under this, we had announced at the last meeting that we would be looking for a volunteer for the liaison position to the Comprehensive Plan Citizen Advisory Committee. We received, Kara showed interest. Is there any other commissioners that would like to be a liaison or an alternate? Then Sean, I think Kara will be our liaison and I will act as the alternate. So,
Awesome.
all right. I look forward to doing this. We're very excited. So are there any other planning commissioner announcements? And for a meeting we thought that was going to last till 10:30, we are going to be adjourned at 8:05. Thank you very much.
Go see a movie.